Hello, my name is Ellie. I am an English language student and this is my story. I want to share my experience of living in London and tell you about the incredible teacher who changed how I learn. You can follow my journey and learn English along with me. It was a beautiful summer day and I was traveling on a train. Two women were in the same carriage, sitting directly across from me. They were speaking English, and while I couldn't understand much, I listened intently. I had been studying English, but as a beginner, my vocabulary was limited. Gathering my courage, I decided to speak to them. I managed to form a few basic sentences, and to my delight, they understood what I was trying to say. I felt a surge of happiness. I explained that I wanted to learn English, and they told me they were from England, heading home from a conference. Our conversation lasted for about 10 minutes until my station arrived. Before I left, they kindly gave me their address and phone number, inviting me to visit them if I ever came to England. We said our goodbyes, and that brief encounter ignited a new fire in me. After that meeting, I dedicated myself to my English studies every single day. I translated articles and watched movies in English. Within 6 months, my English had improved significantly. It was good, but I was hungry for more. I decided to move to London to immerse myself in the language and culture. Once in London, I enrolled in a language school. My first class was on a Monday. I met my teacher and the other students. Our teacher, Ms. Davis, was a young and very kind woman. We introduced ourselves, sharing our names and where we were from. Then, the lesson began. Ms. Davis started with a question. She wanted to know about our personal methods for studying English. She then told us she would teach us a highly effective method that was surprisingly simple. She explained that we didn't need to bury ourselves in textbooks or focus on rote memorization. Instead, she said, we just had to use English as much as possible. This was music to my ears, as I never enjoyed traditional studying or textbooks. We then discussed what is truly important when learning a new language. Ms. Davis emphasized that languages are tools for communication. They allow us to express our ideas and understand the ideas of others. Therefore, the best way to learn is to use the language for that very purpose. This would be the foundation of our course. We would speak a lot. She pointed out that many students get stuck trying to memorize endless lists of new words and complex grammar rules. They study about the language but never truly use it. Of course, vocabulary and grammar are necessary, she clarified, but you don't have to study them in a boring, academic way. In this course, she said with a smile, I want to show you a simple and powerful way to learn words and grammar naturally. I was completely captivated by her approach. The lesson continued with us talking about our hobbies and free time activities. We spoke in pairs and with Ms. Davis, engaging in conversation for the entire class. I loved it. I was genuinely happy because the system of learning felt perfect for me. The key takeaway was clear. If you want to learn English, use it to communicate. The next day, on Tuesday, a student named Jin asked a very insightful question. What's the best way to learn new vocabulary? He asked. Ms. Davis explained that while there are many methods, she believed reading was the most powerful. If you read, you learn much faster than people who don't, she said. It's best to read for about 30 minutes every day. She then shared her strategy for getting the most out of reading. First, it is crucial that the book or text you choose is genuinely interesting to you. It could be a captivating story or an article related to your job or hobbies. Don't force yourself to read something boring. It's also helpful to choose texts where you already know most of the words. When you do encounter a word you don't know, simply take a moment to look it up in a dictionary, and then immediately continue reading. There's no need to write it down or try to memorize it on the spot. By translating the word and moving on, you keep the flow and focus on understanding the story. This simple method of reading and looking up new words is incredibly effective because you see how words connect within sentences and learn grammar in context. After this discussion, we talked about student life in England and the best part-time jobs. This was perfect for me, as I needed to find work. I asked my classmates for advice, and they suggested I visit a local job center. I was happy to have a clear next step. After school, I went straight to the job center. I explained to the woman there that I was a student with no specific work experience. She was very helpful and told me they had several good options, such as being a cleaner or a waiter. She noted that my English was good enough to work in a cafe, where I could practice speaking with customers. The training, she assured me, was straightforward. She told me I could start a trial on Thursday. I was thrilled to have found a job where I could actively use my English. On Wednesday, the topic shifted. Jin, the student from South Korea who was usually quiet, raised his hand. He admitted he had a big problem with pronunciation. He was aware it wasn't very good, which made him hesitant to speak, even though he could understand English well from reading and watching films. He asked Ms. Davis for advice. "That's an excellent question," she said. "Let's talk about pronunciation. When we speak, we use the muscles in our mouth. The problem is, we often try to use these muscles the same way we do for our native language, which results in a foreign accent." She explained that it's normal for learners to have a different pronunciation than native speakers, and it's not a major issue as long as people can understand you. But, she added, there is a powerful technique to improve it called shadowing. The technique is very simple. You copy the sounds you hear. She compared it to how children learn their first language by mimicking their parents over and over until their pronunciation becomes perfect. You can learn English pronunciation the same way, she explained. Find a video or audio clip that isn't too fast and that you understand well. Then, listen and repeat what you hear, trying to copy the speaker's intonation, rhythm, and pronunciation exactly. To demonstrate, our teacher found a great video online showing the shadowing technique. We all watched it and then tried it ourselves for a few minutes. She also mentioned that shadowing is fantastic for preparing for presentations. Practicing for just 10 minutes beforehand can make a huge difference. I had never heard of this technique before and was excited to try it. After class, I went to the school's reception and asked about sports activities. I was happy to learn they had a football team with training that very evening. Sport is a big part of my life, so I went to the training session. I met players from all over the world: Brazil, Japan, Russia, Spain. I loved the training and felt happy that my time in England was starting so well. I had a great teacher, new friends from my football team, and a job starting the next day. The lesson was clear. To get good pronunciation, repeat after native speakers. On Thursday, we had a new student in our class. Her name was Monica, and she was from Italy. Ms. Davis recognized her from a short beginner's course she had taken the previous summer. When Monica spoke, her English was beautiful. Her pronunciation was excellent, and she spoke with incredible fluency. Ms. Davis was impressed and commented, "Your school in Italy must be very good." Monica smiled and replied, "I don't go to a school. I learn at home using the techniques you taught me. I do a lot of reading, shadowing, and thinking aloud. I try to think more in English than in Italian." She explained that the 2 weeks in Ms. Davis's class last summer had shown her the right way to learn. She had started as a beginner and was now able to speak confidently. Her words amazed me. I knew about reading and shadowing, but thinking aloud was new to me. I asked Ms. Davis to explain. She said, "It's a very effective technique, but it requires strong motivation, and some people might find it a bit strange. The concept is simple. We all have an internal monologue running in our native language all day. The technique is to start switching that internal monologue to English, and then take it one step further by actually saying your thoughts out loud." Ms. Davis asked Monica to share her experience. Monica explained, when I started, it was difficult. I began with very simple sentences like I can speak English. I want to get better. I need to practice. The hardest part was simplifying my complex thoughts from Italian into simple English. But after a while, it became natural. She then told us a story about meeting a tourist from Australia. Even though she was still a beginner, she was able to have a conversation with him without much trouble because she wasn't translating in her head. That experience motivated her to use the thinking aloud technique even more. It was a breakthrough for her speaking skills. After school, I went to the cafe for my job training. The place was modern and lively. My boss, Sarah, was only 25 but had a lot of experience. She showed me everything from making coffee to handling customers. I only remembered a fraction of what she told me, but she was patient and corrected my mistakes kindly. By the end of the day, I was exhausted but happy. The next day, Friday, a student asked about grammar. Sometimes I'm not sure if I'm using correct grammar when I speak. How can I improve? Ms. Davis explained that it depends on your goal. For those who just want to speak fluently, she said, you don't need to study grammar intensely. You learn it naturally, just like you did with your native language. The best way is through extensive reading and shadowing. When you read, you absorb correct grammar and context. When you shadow, you practice speaking in grammatically correct sentences without even thinking about it. For students needing to pass an exam, she recommended studying old versions of the test to get familiar with the format. She also mentioned a useful website that breaks down essential grammar points by proficiency levels. This was great news for me, as I just wanted to communicate effectively. After the lesson, I checked out the website she mentioned. It was a fantastic resource, organizing grammar rules for different vocabulary levels. That afternoon, I went to my second day of work. I was already able to do many things on my own, and I enjoyed practicing my English with the customers. On Monday, Ms. Davis asked about our weekend. I told the class about my job and how I was enjoying talking to customers. One of the girls remarked, your voice sounds so different. Your pronunciation is much better. I smiled and explained that I had spent the weekend practicing the shadowing technique. The student from South Korea also said he loved the technique. Another student mentioned that she tried it, but her mouth hurt after 5 minutes. Ms. Davis explained that this was a good sign. It's like going to the gym for the first time, she said. You're training new muscles. It's normal for them to be sore. Just take short breaks and continue. I then mentioned the grammar website and told her I wasn't sure what my level was because I didn't know how many words I knew. It turned out nobody in the class knew their vocabulary size. Ms. Davis then told us about an online language assessment tool that could estimate our vocabulary size in 2 simple steps. We all took out our phones and tried the test. I found out that I knew about 2,100 words. Most students were in a similar range, while Monica and Jin were closer to 2,500. This helped us understand which grammar level to focus on. Finally, on Tuesday, a student expressed a common fear. I want to practice speaking, but I'm afraid of making mistakes and looking stupid. Ms. Davis smiled. Mistakes are a natural and necessary part of learning, she said. When you learned your first language as a child, you made countless mistakes, but you didn't care. Your only goal was to communicate. She explained that our focus should be on expressing our ideas, not on being perfect. Most of you know around 2,000 words, she continued. That's a great foundation, and it's perfectly normal to make mistakes at this level. As you continue to read, shadow, and speak, the mistakes will naturally decrease over time. You cannot reach a higher level without going through a period of making mistakes. Think of it like learning a musical instrument. Nobody is perfect at the beginning. She told us not to worry, as even famous politicians and business leaders make mistakes when speaking. The important thing is the message. Focus on the exchange of ideas, she concluded. The fluency will follow.